This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So Russ, it is October, and many believe this is the time of year when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. Everyone knows that you don't believe in anything supernatural, and I've been trying to convince you that spirits exist for years. Well, today I have a story that might finally prove it to you, because a ghost solved her own murder. This is the case of Teresita Basa. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories, and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. The Profiler. I'm here with Jess, a.k.a. Mrs. T-Pain, a.k.a. she had the apple-bottom jeans, the boots with the fur. Jess is the biggest T-Pain fan you ever met. So she always but he can really sing.
He can.
See, here we go. This was before he did the Ozzy cover.
Yeah, the one that went viral.
Yeah, so when he was before anyone even heard him sing, and she was saying this, she was an early adopter on him.
I was.
She bought the stock early in the IPO.
Listen, we've talked about my love for T-Pain before.
Did you have apple-bottom jeans and boots with the fur?
I did have apple-bottom jeans. Because I don't have a big butt. And apple-bottom jeans, kind of help make it look bigger and nicer.
Did you have boots with the fur?
No,
Uggs,
I can't remember.
Maybe?
No, I never had Uggs. No, I couldn't afford Uggs back then. They were expensive. Plus, I'm a girl that has bigger feet for a girl, and Uggs look dumb on me.
That's true. You put Uggs on, you probably look like you'll walk on water. So did you see that Ancestry.com is selling all their information or the company to Blackstone for $4 billion or something like that?
I did not.
Blackstone is an investment firm, and they're a large investment firm. They have $1 trillion of investments and stuff like that. So just like I always say, I'm not doing any of these 23andMe's, these ancestries, none of that, because they have all your information. And what are they going to do with it? I don't know, but they ain't going to do nothing with mine.
Honestly, you are right a little bit. I know that that's hard to hear since it doesn't get said often out of these lips, but you are actually right. Because now that I think about it, when you said that, That is a little scary because I did both 23andMe and Ancestry. And yeah, now I'm a little scared, I have to say.
And you found out that you were 100% annoying.
Shut up. Well, this week in TikTok, last week in TikTok, there was this whole rug conspiracy, this whole situation. I made videos about it. People sent it to me. Like, these were all from our listeners who sent me the videos of this girl who had, her house was having this weird stuff. House seemed haunted. And then her husband dug a hole to put a fence in it and found a rug. And then TikTok got involved. And this girl went viral. She literally went from like having 5,000 followers to 2.2 million in a matter of like 4 days.
Well, I might have a rug in my backyard. So everyone, it almost sounds like she might have planted it.
So it's so funny because Denise, we talk about Denise a lot because she's an old friend, but Russ makes fun of her on the show all the time. I love Denise. And Denise texted me and she was like, plot twist. She definitely planted the rug because she wanted to go viral.
Denise is the funniest woman I know.
Yeah, Denise is definitely the funniest. She matches you with her pettiness and roast.
And the crazy. She's the funniest and the craziest. She's definitely like Elaine from Seinfeld. Like she probably has the same dance moves and everything.
That's a good way to describe her. All right, well, let's get into your jobs because this week, the story I'm about to tell you, I have been literally so excited to tell you this story that I have for you today. I cannot wait. So let's get your jobs done so we can get to it.
All right. So we have a Patreon where we have a lot of stuff over there.
We have bonus content. And this month, I'm trying to convince Russ to do another series like we did with Homicide New York. But this one is called The Real Nightmare on Elm Street. I said on our Instagram that it was on Netflix, but it's not. It's on Max. But anyway, it's 5 episodes, and I'm trying to get him to do it for Patreon.
5's a lot, bro.
So TBD, but I think that I can convince him. I think I can.
I mean, I love chicken cutlets, but I don't know if that's enough.
No, what if I make you 20 chicken cutlets? Extra crispy, perfect like I made them last time.
I can't even eat that much. All right. So then you guys join and I do my best impression of Destiny's Child because I will say your name. So this week's people are Vivian, Kristen, Tiffany, Leanne, Cheyenne, Braden, Tiziana, Allie, Hope, Lauren, Sarah, Jesse, Miranda, Shannon, Leisha, Osbound, Connie, Nicole, Jenna, Kelly, Carla, Melissa, Jordan, Soul Sister. So shout out to you guys. Hold on, let me open them fresh. I got a Dogfish Head 90 Minute. How don't we have a beer sponsor?
Yeah, we don't. Cheers.
But cheers to you guys.
How don't we have a beer sponsor? Hello.
Yeah, like
we need one.
So if you have a beer company, hit me up. I'll talk about your beer and drink it if you send me a bunch.
Yeah.
But I need like a pallet full.
A pallet?
Yeah, and I'll just say I drink it all the time on here. All right. So also, I've been pretty consistent with doing review of the week.
No, you've been incredibly consistent. You've actually not stopped doing review of the week. I don't know if you realize this. The first review of the week you ever did was in 2021.
But you know what's crazy?
That was a long ass time ago.
I have forgot. And you're like, do you have review of the week?
That's not how I talk.
All right. You're like, do you have review of the week? It's a little scarier. And then I'm like, yes, I do. Don't hit me. All right. So this week's review of the week is from CG22. And they went to Rush University and gave it 5 stars.
Ooh.
I watched the doc on Netflix, Into the Fire. And within minutes, I knew who did it. My boyfriend was like, how do you know this? And I said, I went to Rush University, baby. I'm a profiler. And yes, I absolutely took his phone and gave you guys 5 stars. I love you guys. Please keep being you in a world where everyone is scared to voice their opinions. Jess, I know this was about Russ, but I love you just as much, especially your laugh.
Aw.
So
thank you.
Thanks, CG.
Awesome. Okay. So, like I said, I am so excited to tell you this case.
I'm so excited.
I have been literally anxious to tell you this one.
And anxious about everything else
True.
in your entire life.
True. So it's October, my favorite time of year. I love fall. I love Halloween. I love everything spooky and cozy and pumpkin. Halloween, as we know it today, has its roots in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, which is over 2,000 years old. The Celts marked this time as the end of the harvest and the start of winter. They believe the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, which allows spirits to walk among us. When Christianity spread to the Celtic lands, the church was determined to replace pagan festivals with Christian observances. So they changed the names of these important days to All Saints' Day on November 1st. The night before, October 31st, became known as All Hallows' Eve, which later evolved into Halloween. Immigrants from Ireland and Scotland brought Halloween traditions to America in the 19th century, where it gradually transformed into the community-centered celebration we recognize today. By the 1920s and 30s, Halloween had become more of an organized, family-friendly celebration
With candy.
and a fun activity for children, combining ancient customs with a more modern, playful twist, complete with costumes, trick-or-treating, and carved pumpkins.
Unless your mother was in a cult and then Jesus,
and you weren't allowed to celebrate Halloween.
Yeah, then Jesus took away my costumes and candy.
Well, yes, that is true.
You know, there was always this thing about when I was a kid about razor blades and apples. First of all, if anyone gave us an apple while we were trick-or-treating, I only trick-or-treated probably up until 7 or 8. If anyone gave you an apple, you probably would just throw that shit at their house and keep it moving.
Yeah, I don't think kids would eat just an apple.
Yeah. That's what my PT would give out, though. Rach, she listens to the podcast. She definitely would give out apples to the trick-or-treaters. She is not giving out any candy.
She gives out probably the healthiest candy or the healthiest option.
Yeah, she's so organic that she had her kids wiping their butt with organic toilet paper. The poor kid was like, I got cuts on my butt, Mom.
No, but the house that gives you the candy corn or the crappy
Candy corn?
Yeah, it's the worst.
How about the old people that gave pennies?
Yeah, that was back in the day.
All that did was make your bag heavy for no reason.
True. All of these traditions are adapted from the Celtic custom of making lanterns from turnips, dressing up in costumes to hide from evil spirits, and going door to door reciting verses in exchange for food. Since we're approaching Samhain, and according to the Celts, this is when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. I wanted to tell you a case where the spirit of a dead woman actually crossed over.
Oh boy.
And solved her own murder. This story was actually sent to me by a skeptic just like yourself, a non-believer who heard this case and can't explain it away. She's a member of our crime family. Her name is Maddie.
Maddie's
so
a nut.
Shout out to you. No, she's a fellow skeptic like you.
She don't believe either?
I just said that. She's a fellow skeptic like you.
Well, I thought maybe now she's not, and she crossed over to the kook side.
No, she's a non-believer, and she heard this case, and she can't explain it away.
I can't explain. If you wasn't there's no chance of you explaining.
There are fictional stories with this same narrative, like Shakespeare's Hamlet and Alice Sebold's The Lovely Bones. Both Hamlet and The Lovely Bones explore the profound impact of murder on the living through the lens of the dead. In Hamlet, the ghost of King Hamlet reveals the truth of his murder to his son, which spurs this quest for revenge. Similarly, in The Lovely Bones, Susie Salmon narrates her story from the afterlife, guiding her family and the investigation toward justice while grappling with her own longing for closure. Today's case, the case of Teresita Basa, makes even the most staunch skeptics question how they feel about the afterlife and the spiritual realm. Teresita's case adds a real-world dimension to those fictional stories, where her spirit is said to have communicated vital information about her murder, leading to the identification of her killer. All three narratives illustrate how the voices of the dead can resonate through the actions of the living, igniting a relentless pursuit of truth and justice, while raising many important questions about grief, guilt, and the nature of the afterlife. Are you ready?
Here we go.
On February 21st, 1977, at around 9 p.m., a couple living in the Pine Grove Apartments in Chicago, Illinois, were just finishing dinner and started to clean up when they began smelling smoke. The couple opened their door to smoke everywhere in the hallway.
They didn't want this smoke.
They ran down the hall, yelling, "Fire, fire," and took the elevator down to the super's apartment on the 7th floor. They told him there was a fire in the building and to call 911. All of the residents evacuated the building, and the fire department showed up within just a few minutes. They searched and found the source of the fire was a 15th floor apartment. When they got in, they realized the smoke was coming from the bedroom.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
In there, they found a mattress up in flames. They put the fire out and made the gruesome discovery of a naked woman laying under the mattress with 90% of her body burned.
Damn.
And a butcher knife sticking out of her chest. Police arrived and quickly discovered this was the body of Teresita Basa. Teresita was born in the Philippines on March 13th, 1929. She was an only child. Her father, Pedro, was a very influential businessman, so they had money.
Vote for Pedro.
As a child, she was said to be a bit of an old soul and had a lot of different hobbies and interests, kind of like me.
Yeah, that's true. You never mastered playing the spoons.
No. That was one of my many interests that I got obsessed with for about 2 months. As she grew older, she began falling in love with music, specifically playing the piano. Teresita was very close with her parents, and she was raised in a loving home. So when they realized her love for music was more than just a random hobby, they bought her a Steinway piano to practice on.
Is that like a grand, baby grand or a grand piano?
It's
like
a
nice
type
one?
of piano. I don't think it was a baby grand, but it's like a brand of piano, and it's really nice.
Oh, yeah. I heard of that because my sister used to play piano when we were kids, but she practiced the same song over and over and over. It used to drive me fucking nuts.
Aww. So they got her the Steinway piano to practice on, and she absolutely loved it. During World War II, the Japanese invaded the city in the Philippines that Teresita grew up in, and it really messed her up. It was really traumatic for her. So as soon as she was old enough to move on her own, she decided to move to Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines, to get a fresh start.
I know about Manila because that's where Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier fought, the Thriller in Manila.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy. I didn't know that was in the Philippines either.
Yeah, that's the capital of the Philippines. While in Manila, she went to St. Scholastica College and studied music. After that, she moved to London and continued studying piano at the Royal College of Music. She got a degree in piano. After graduating, she went backpacking through Europe with friends from the Philippines. So she was a very adventurous girl. She loved exploring and had a real love for life and aimed to live it to the fullest. While backpacking, she met a couple who were from Chicago. They became friends and invited Teresita to come visit Chicago anytime she wanted. So in the summer of 1957, she heads to Chicago, and it's her first time in the United States. Within the first few days of being in the U.S., Teresita fell in love with it. She absolutely adored America and all its diversity. She decided she didn't want to go back home just yet, so she enrolled in the foreign exchange program at Illinois University. Unfortunately, in 1965, Teresita's visa was set to expire, and she had to move back to the Philippines.
Or marry an American.
She didn't, though. She ended up moving back.
I remember back in the day, they were saying someone would give you like 10, 20,000 when I was broke and like 18.
Well, it's not back in the day. You still get money.
I married you for free. You ain't give me nothing.
I did not. I gave you debt.
Some bullshit.
So she missed America so much. She stayed in the Philippines while applying for her American citizenship. Then, on December 7th, 1971, when Teresita was 42 years old, she moved back to Chicago with nothing but 2 suitcases and $400 to her name. She pretty quickly got a job as a receptionist, but it didn't take long for Teresita to realize that this salary was not high enough to fund her life. So, as we've seen already, Miss Teresita is not afraid to pivot. She's not afraid to try new things. So she enrolled in the Illinois University's respiratory therapy program.
Oh, you know, all the Filipinos always go into medicine when they come here and they make that money.
Exactly. So she enrolled in Illinois University's respiratory therapy program, graduated with her degree, and started working at Edgewater Hospital in downtown Chicago in 1974. When Teresita started working at Edgewater, she kind of stayed to herself in the beginning, but pretty quickly made a lot of friends. And this doesn't surprise me at all. Not only because she seemed like a really cool and fun lady, but also because she was immediately initiated into what us nurses lovingly refer to as the Filipino Mafia.
Did she get jumped in?
Let me give you some context about being Filipino in the U.S. healthcare system. There is a Filipino Mafia, and they are my absolute favorite. The Filipino Mafia raised me as a nurse. If you are Filipino and you get a job in healthcare, you're automatically in.
They jumped Jess in. They gave her a black tie.
But if you're white, black, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, etc., you are not in their mafia. However, they will mentor you, feed you, because they always bring a ton of food, and they almost become like your work aunties, per se. They roll deep. And I will say they are the backbone for many U.S. hospital systems, especially in places like California, New York, and Florida. Years ago, the U.S. had a huge nursing shortage, so they made a deal with the Philippines. They made their school curriculum to mimic ours, and they take the exact same license exam, the NCLEX, that we do. So if you're a patient in a hospital and you have a Filipino nurse or respiratory therapist or tech, trust me when I tell you, you are in the best hands. They will make sure that your meds are on time. They will make sure your chart is perfect. And they will yell at the doctors on your behalf because they do not give a fuck.
Like a wife yells at a husband.
And trust and believe they will make sure you're clean. Because if you stink, they will tell you. And they will fix it. But they will let you know. They are brutally honest. But they're also loving. So they'll make sure you're clean. They're loving and hardworking, and this is across the board, everywhere you go. So now Teresita has been there a few months, has tons of friends, is part of the Filipino Mafia. She even starts playing in a band with some coworkers. They start performing locally in different venues. She's in her 40s, in Chicago, new career, able to still have music in her life. Things are going so well for her. She moved to the Pine Grove Apartments, which is a really nice place right across the street from Lincoln Park. Teresita had a coworker named Alan that she is just friends with. Alan is a tech on one of the units. They live near each other and often commute together on the bus to and from work. On February 21st, Teresita and Alan were riding home on the bus, and she tells him that her TV has been acting up lately. And Alan, being a pretty handy guy, tells her that he'll come over her house later and have a look at it for her, and maybe he can fix it. The two also talk about a show coming up that Teresita and her band are having, and she tells Alan that he should come. But he says to her that he probably can't afford tickets because he's been tight on money lately. But she says, don't worry, I'll set aside a couple free tickets for you.
Wow, so she's doing well enough with the band to sell tickets. I thought it was like, might be some like bullshit music.
No, they're like touring around locally and performing. Alan was a drummer, so the two talked about him coming to see the show so he could see if he'd be interested in joining the band because the drummer they currently had was about to quit. A few hours later, around 7:30 p.m., Teresita's best friend Ruth calls her. Teresita tells her on the phone that there's a guy at her house, but never tells Ruth who the man is. Ruth says she can hear a man's voice in the background, but can't make out what he's saying. Ruth said the conversation was very normal, and Teresita didn't sound off or weird at all. The two ladies hung up, and Ruth thought nothing of it. Then at 9:30 p.m., 911 receives the phone call about the fire at Pine Grove Apartments, where they discovered Teresita naked, stabbed, and her body burned.
That's wild.
During the initial crime scene investigation, police noticed that although the apartment was ransacked, there was no sign of forced entry, leading them to believe that Teresita must have let the perpetrator in. The autopsy showed that although Teresita was naked, there was no sign of sexual assault. The autopsy also revealed that Teresita had been strangled, so her cause of death was strangulation and stabbing. It was determined that the mattress was put on top of her and lit on fire after she already died. Police also discovered a notepad laying next to her telephone that said, quote, "Get tickets for AS," end quote. First of all, this is so sad because, now I've already told you so much about her and she sounds like such a cool lady.
Yeah, she, plays in the band.
She's a respiratory therapist. She just sounds like such an adventurous person who's ambitious, who is not afraid to try new things. What a cool lady. I'm so sad about her. At this point, police had not much to go on. They spoke to Ruth about the phone call that she had with her, and they had this note saying, "Get tickets for AS," but they didn't know who AS is. They discovered the knife that she was stabbed with was her own knife. Aside from that, they really had no other viable leads. So days would turn into weeks, and weeks into months, and sadly, the case would go cold. But then, about 6 months later, this case took a wild turn. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Viia Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Viia Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Viia Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. Then Viia Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viiahemp.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com, wifeofcrime1 for 15% off your first order. Last year, Save More Money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, ooh, I invest in stocks, that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like, you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. A woman named Remy Chua, who was also a respiratory therapist and a coworker of Teresita's, had a pretty frightening experience.
No relation to Remy Ma.
No relation. She and Teresita weren't close friends. They actually worked opposite shifts, but they had some mutual friends, and they were both part of Edgewater Hospital's Filipino mafia.
I find that name kind of silly.
It is silly, but they call themselves the Filipino mafia.
They call
and
themselves.
We lovingly call them that as well. It's all a giant joke, but it's all true. So these two women, they didn't really know each other well. They were both respiratory therapists, but they worked opposite shifts. One night, during Remy's night shift, while she was on break, she went to the break room to take a nap. She was in there alone, but suddenly, according to other coworkers who were right outside the door, she runs out of the break room and runs down the hall, completely terrified. She told her coworkers that she just saw something that scared her, but she didn't tell them what it was. She was so afraid that she actually went home for the day because she was that shaken up by this experience. When she got home, she told her husband, who was a physician that worked for another hospital. His name is Dr. Jose Chua.
So he is not part of the mafia.
Well, he's also Filipino, but he's not.
Jose?
Yeah. Filipinos were colonized by the Spanish, so their culture is very mixed with Spanish.
I did not know that.
So she told Jose that while in the break room, she started to doze off, but was woken up by a noise. When she opened her eyes, she saw Teresita standing in front of her in the break room. Jose was like, okay. I mean, you were probably half asleep. Maybe this was a dream. And Remy started to think, yeah, you're right. I probably was dreaming, but it felt so real.
It's true. She was probably like, Jose, can you see?
Stop. But really, she thought maybe it was a dream because she was dozing off. And she went back to work the next day and just tried not to think about it. In the days following this, Remy started acting really strange. And it was noticeable to not only her husband, but also her coworkers. She started talking about wanting to play the piano and how much she loved music. She made weird comments about backpacking in Europe, and it sounded eerily similar to the things Teresita would say and talk about. So her coworkers, especially the ones that were friends with Teresita, were super weirded out by this and couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Was she obsessed with her? Was she trying to imitate her? And it started to make a lot of people really uncomfortable and angry, to the point that after a few weeks of imitating and acting like Teresita, Remy was actually fired. She was fired for this.
Wait, this is just weird.
No, I mean, she got fired because people complained because these were her friends. Teresita was very loved by her coworkers. They were coworkers, but they were friends. They were like her family here in America because she was here by herself. So her coworkers, seeing this woman acting like her, talking like her, it freaked them out and they felt really uncomfortable. And so a lot of people complained and she ended up getting fired.
So you guys are saying she was possessed. That's where we're going.
We're not there yet, but just wait. A few days later, after being fired, Remy and her husband were home watching TV. When Remy tells her husband she started feeling kind of sick and she laid down on the sofa. After a few minutes, she abruptly gets up, says nothing, and walks into the bedroom. After a little while, Jose walks in to check on his wife and he sees her laying on the bed with her eyes open, staring at the ceiling. He says, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" Then, according to Jose, his wife started talking in a voice that was not hers. She spoke in Tagalog, which is the Filipino language. She said, "I am Teresita Basa. Dr. Chua, I need your help." Now, Jose was so confused. He was like, "Remy, stop. Is this a joke?" For a few minutes, he kept telling her to stop playing around. This isn't funny, trying to get her to snap out of it. And Remy kept repeating, "Dr. Chua, I need your help." Finally, Jose was like, "Okay, fine. What do you need help with?" And the voice said, "I need you to help me stop the person who killed me." At this point, Jose is like, WTF? What is happening to my wife? He is now starting to think she may be having like a nervous breakdown or a psychotic break or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to get dumped.
Like he starts to think she's actually delusional. But then Remy points at the phone and says, "Please, doctor, call the police and tell them who killed me." Jose starts to shake his wife, trying to snap her out of this, because he is starting to get like really freaked out. And within a minute or so, Remy seems to snap out of it. She starts to blink. She sees Jose sitting next to her and asks him what happened. What's wrong? She had no idea what happened. The next day, Remy and Jose go to the hospital to clear out Remy's locker, since she had been fired. While there, Remy told Jose that she just had this really strange feeling and she wanted to get this over with as fast as she could. She felt bad energy there and she just wanted to go home. Once home, the couple was in the living room again when Remy suddenly looked at Jose and said, "Teresita wants to come back." And she walked in the bedroom, laid on the bed, and stared at the ceiling just like the night before.
That reminds me of like that SpongeBob meme. And if I'm the husband, I'm like, I'm heading out.
Oh, well,
you're going to be here by yourself in that motherfucking bed, and I'm taking Lucy with me.
Well, listen to this, okay? Because he didn't leave his wife, all right? And listen to what happens next. So she goes and lays down in the middle of the bed, and she's staring at the ceiling. And then she says, "I am Teresita. The man who killed me is Alan Showery. He came to fix my television. He stabbed me, he choked me, and he stole some of my jewelry." Then she proceeds to beg Dr. Chua yet again to call the police. Jose is like, "What the hell do I do? If I call the cops, I cannot tell them how I know this information.
Yeah.
They will think we are complete kooks."
He's going to be like, "I had a seance and my wife started..."
Well, they didn't go. I mean, they aren't expecting any of this. This is just happening to her. They're not involved. They don't even know Teresita that well.
But the cops
They're not friends.
The cops are going to ask. So why is Teresita going through her? If you really believe this.
Who knows? But they're not friends. So Jose is like really caught between a rock and a hard place because this has now happened twice. And now Teresita's voice coming through gave them the name of the killer, Alan Showery. The wife, Remy, she knows Alan, but Dr. Chua doesn't know Alan. And she tells him all the details. He came to fix the television. He stabbed me. He choked me. He stole some of my jewelry. Okay? So Dr. Chua is like, "Bro, the cops are going to think I'm completely insane." She tells Jose the details about the specific pieces of jewelry that were stolen. A necklace and a ring, and even tells him that the ring was a gift from her mother a year ago. This is all coming out of his wife. Remy then comes to again. She tells Jose she doesn't know why she's in the bed. She doesn't know what happened. He tells his wife everything, and both of them are totally freaked out. And they don't call the police because they're too freaked out and they don't know what to say.
You got to move.
They just decided to go to bed.
That's me. Whenever I'm stressed, I'm like, I'm going to sleep.
Well, the next day, this all happens again. Finally, Remy is like, "Okay, we need to do something or this is going to keep happening to me." So they called the police, but they don't tell the police what actually happened. They lie because they don't want to look crazy. They tell the police that they have a tip for the Teresita Basa case. Now, they knew no one would believe them. So when the detective came to their home, they don't tell the actual story. They instead say that Remy received a threatening phone call from Alan Showery, who was an ex-coworker of hers and Teresita. And he was very aggressive on the phone. So it made Remy think that maybe he had something to do with Teresita's death. The detective took the statement, but there was no evidence of anything. But he decided to just pass the tip on to the lead detective on her case. And his name is Officer Stahula. So Officer Stahula decides to follow up because, number one, you have to follow up on all the leads. But also, there are literally no other leads in this case. Like, it's completely cold. There's really nothing else to go on. So he's like, all right, I'll go talk to these people about this aggressive phone call that they say they got from this guy.
Yeah, I'm confused of how this is even happening or if this is real.
You're confused about what?
If this is real, like what they're going through?
Yeah. Well, how else would they know this information? How else would they know Alan Showery? How else would they know that jewelry was stolen? And how else would they know the jewelry that was stolen was a ring given to her from her mother a year ago? Remy is not her friend. So Officer Stahula decides to go follow up because, like I said, there's no other leads. When Stahula showed up, they stuck to the story. They told him about this threatening phone call that Remy got from, Alan Showery, an ex-coworker. But Stahula's spidey senses started tingling, and he was like, you guys aren't telling me everything. What's actually going on? Like, he could tell they were uncomfortable. He could tell that they were lying, that this isn't really the true story. So he was like, all right, what's actually going on? Just tell me everything. Jose leans toward him and says,
I see dead people.
Detective, do you believe in the occult and exorcisms? And he said, I'm open-minded. And then Jose told him everything. On the Unsolved Mysteries episode about this case, there's actually a real interview with Detective Stahula. And he said that he'd been in homicide for a really long time. And he has interrogated many people, and he could tell when someone is sincere and actually believes what they're saying. And he said on this Unsolved Mysteries episode that Jose and Remy fully believed everything that they experienced was 100% real, and they were terrified.
I believe they believe it.
Well, they told Detective Stahula everything. So he kind of wanted to test them, right? Because he's like, listening to this story, it sounds kind of weird. And he said, okay, so did the voice tell you that she had been raped? And Jose said, no, she didn't say anything about that. She said she was strangled and stabbed. So the press had been reporting that it was a rape.
But it wasn't.
So at this point, only law enforcement knew that it wasn't a rape. Then Jose explained the jewelry that was taken from her. He described them like the voice did, saying that it was a necklace and a cocktail ring. He told Detective Stahula detailed descriptions of the items and who gave them to her. So Detective Stahula left the house. He was super perplexed and a bit weirded out. He drives back to the station thinking about all of this. He opens the evidence box and he's going through all the reports and the notes, and there's nothing in any interviews with friends or the reports that had anything to do with an Alan Showery. His name never came up. But then he pulls out the small notepad, the one that was laying next to Teresita's telephone, the one that said, "Get tickets for A.S. Alan Showery." You have to admit this is crazy, Russ. Whether you believe in supernatural things or not, if you look at this case, there is no way Remy would have known about all this jewelry, known the details about the jewelry, and known Alan Showery was the killer. And this all is matching up.
I feel like this is a fable from like Aesop's fable.
It's not. It's a real case. The detective was on Unsolved Mysteries talking about it. This went to trial, and we're going to talk about that later.
Why is it on Unsolved Mysteries? We're solving this motherfucker right now.
It's Unsolved Mysteries because people are still questioning how Remy actually knew this, because people like you can't just believe in supernatural experiences.
Yeah, because everyone says they see ghosts, and then whenever they film it, it's blurry as hell, and all of our camera phones are 4K.
So he ran Alan's name in the system. Alan was 30 years old and originally from New York City. He attended college at NYU before moving to Chicago and getting a job as a tech at Edgewater Hospital. He had a very long arrest record. He was arrested for burglary in 1967, theft in 1971, and 2 arrests for rape in 1972.
Oh, fuck this dude.
So Detective Stahula went to Alan's house and knocked on the door, asking him if he could come to the station. Alan's first question to the detective was, "Does this have anything to do with Teresita Basa?"
Guilty.
So police get him to the station and start interrogating him. Alan said that he and Teresita were, coworkers and friends. They ate lunch together and rode the bus together, but he hadn't seen her outside of work in over 6 months before her death. The cops decided to lie to him and tell Alan that they found his fingerprints at her house. So then he changed his story.
And back then they didn't have DNA. All they had was fingerprint evidence.
Exactly. So he changed his story, and he tells them that it has been less than 6 months, but that on the night of her murder, he told her he was going to come fix the TV, but he didn't actually end up going there. Instead, he stayed home with his girlfriend, and that she would confirm this alibi. So they decided to bring in his girlfriend and question her. But Detective Stahula was really smart, okay? Because he had a special request. He told the girlfriend that they wanted her to bring in all of her jewelry.
Gotcha, bitch.
So she did, because she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know Alan had been questioned. They also called one of Teresita's close friends so they can go through the jewelry box she brought with her and see if any of the jewelry looked like Teresita's. Her friend looked at all of it and said, "No, none of this looked like Teresita's jewelry." But as he was going to leave the room, he looked back at Alan's girlfriend's hand, and he points to the ring on her hand and says, "That is Teresita's ring." He tells the cops that the ring on this girl's finger was the ring that Teresita's mother gave her a year ago.
What a dumb fuck this guy is.
Which is exactly what Remy told the cops.
But we want the criminals to be dumb so they could get caught. But sometimes you're so stupid, and we're glad you're stupid.
Yep. Alan's girlfriend immediately took the ring off. She didn't want to have anything to do with this. She had no idea. She said that Alan gave her the ring as a gift about 5 or 6 months ago.
Lines up.
Police took the ring and showed it to Teresita's mother, and she confirmed it's the ring that she got for her daughter a year ago. At this point, cops have a case they are building against Alan, and he is looking mighty guilty. So eventually, after a few hours, he confesses to the murder.
Wow.
He told cops he went to the apartment to fix the TV, but realized he needed more tools. So he went back to his apartment to get tools, and on the way, he decided he was going to rob her. He told cops that over the last few months, he had been doing odd jobs for her and taking her to get her citizenship papers sorted out. And every time he would help her, she would give him cash tips. So he thought she must have a lot of cash in her house.
Wow, she was being generous and giving tips on top of the amount she's paying you. And I tip everyone. So if I tip you and you try to do some funny business, you're going to lose your scalp.
It's disgusting.
What a motherfucker. Like, she's being generous.
She's just being nice.
This is why
you can't be nice.
In New York, no one's fucking nice. I'm not being nice. First of all, why are you talking to me?
Well,
this is another rule of trying to live, folks. Don't be nice.
Yeah, but she really thought that they were coworkers. They rode the bus together. Like, she thought they were like coworker/friends. So when he got back to her apartment, as soon as she let him in, he put her in a chokehold until she lost consciousness. Then he started going through all of her stuff, looking for money.
She's a regular worker.
And all he found was $30 and her jewelry.
Yeah, just because I tip you $20 doesn't mean I'm rich. It means I'm trying to
be nice.
It's like good juju. Like, I'm gonna take care of people. It's just, I'm being nice.
I know.
This is why, folks, don't be nice. This shit aggravates me.
So he picked her up, carried her into the bedroom, and decided to lay her on the floor. And then he stabbed her in the sternum. Then, to hide evidence, he put the mattress and a bunch of clothes on top of her and lit it on fire. So the Cook County DA took on the case, and the cops were like, how are we going to explain how we actually got to all of this? Are we really going to tell a jury that a ghost led us to the murderer?
Does it matter when you actually have evidence, though? Do you even have to bring it up?
Well, they have circumstantial evidence, but they don't have forensic evidence.
Well, they got the rings. Why does he have her jewelry?
100%.
Was you going to say she gave me her jewelry? No,
he could,
bro.
Though. He could.
You were in her crib changing light bulbs. Relax.
But he could say that. See, like, there's no actual forensic evidence.
Fry him.
So at first, the DA was so skeptical, and he had no idea how he was going to explain this to a jury. But after reading through everything and building the case, he said, how can I not believe the Chuas? They literally led us to the murderer, and it all lined up. During the pretrial hearing, the defense tried to have the case dismissed based on it being a ghost that led cops to his client. But the DA maintained that the cops followed a viable lead that brought them right to Alan Showery. Yes, it may have been a weird tip.
But they got it, and they found it.
It led them to the truth, exactly.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Like, so I've been a boss at work, and a lot of times people want to, like, there's a mission we need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds stupid saying a mission, but, you know, you have to get something done. And I was always like, I don't care how you do it, as long as it gets done. Like, I'll tell you how I would do it, and you get it done fast. But as long as something gets done, who gives a shit?
Okay, but you, being someone who thinks anything supernatural is bullshit, literally, that's what you think. You are on a jury. There's 12 of you. You're listening to this DA present this case, and he tells you that a woman claims to have been possessed by the spirit of this dead woman and tells you this entire story.
But it doesn't matter because he actually had her stolen jewelry. So lock him up. Like, I don't know, her multiple personalities led us towards...
You're being annoying.
This person.
Russ,
because I'm not thinking how you're thinking?
No, because you're not facing the facts that she's not crazy. She doesn't have a psych history. Nothing like this has ever happened before. And every bit of the information was true.
It was.
So why are you trying to dismiss her as being crazy?
Well, I guess, is she going to stop seeing stuff soon?
Yes.
She never saw stuff again?
Never. Again.
Damn. I don't know. It might have been carbon monoxide.
You're really getting on my nerves because you won't just admit it.
Well,
you can't explain this one away.
I got to check sources.
You can check all the sources. I'll give you all the sources. You can check everything. This case was in the media. This was a huge case back in the 70s.
So she walked up the walls backwards and said, I got the ring. So this could be called the ring.
No, seriously, Russ. I really want you to tell me that you don't believe this.
I'd have to be there.
Are you kidding me?
I don't believe anything.
I know. It's so
when people
irritating.
talk to me, I assume they're lying.
Whatever. I think you're just trying to debate me and be the opposite of me because you don't want to admit that this case, I finally found a case. I finally found one that really proves that some type of supernatural thing happened.
I'm not trying to win. You're trying to win.
I am trying to win.
You could win if you want, but I don't believe it because...
How? How, Sway? How do you not believe it?
Because I wasn't there.
Okay, whatever. Alan went on trial January 8th, 1979, and the media went crazy. It was so sensationalized, but the DA tried hard to keep the jury focused on the facts. Alan Showery was with her the night of her murder. He had the items stolen from her in his possession.
Lock him up.
And he made a full confession. Regardless if they were led to these conclusions by a ghost or not, these are the facts. The defense claims that the confession was coerced and that the possession thing was all made up so Remy could get attention. But don't forget that the Chuas did not want to report this at all. And at no time did they ever want to make money off of this. They hated being in the spotlight. They hated talking about this. Friends of theirs said that this was incredibly stressful for them and embarrassing for them. Remy literally lost her job. Nothing like this has never happened to them again. It didn't happen previous to this. This was an isolated incident.
Did she ever float?
This is the biggest eye roll I've ever given you in my entire life.
Actually,
you could see the whites of my eyes.
No, it looked like you tried to crunch your face at me, but the Botox was stopping it.
After 13 hours of deliberations, the jury sent a note to the judge and said they were completely deadlocked. The jury was dismissed and they scheduled a retrial. But on February 21st, Alan calls his attorney and asks to have a meeting with the judge and the DA. The next day, against the advice of his legal team, Alan Showery changed his plea to guilty. He was only sentenced, are you ready for this? He was only sentenced to 14 years for arson, robbery, and murder.
Wow.
He was released from prison on parole in 1993. I couldn't find any info about where he is today, but I hope and I pray that he is being haunted by the spirit of Teresita, so he never has the opportunity to escape the horrendous things he did to that poor lady. She seemed like such a cool lady.
Yeah, she was just rocking. She was helping people. Yeah, they help people. They help you get your breath back.
Yes, she was awesome.
And then she was playing in the band.
She was living such a full life, and he took it in such a senseless way, and she was just being so nice to him.
Now, let me ask you a question, though. What would have you done if this was me, and all of a sudden, I'm working at the Garden? Like, that was one of the last corporations I worked for or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm being possessed by someone that died at the Garden.
Yeah.
What would have you said? You believe everything. Because it's an isolated incident, nothing like this has ever happened before. You don't have a history of any type of psychiatric disorders or, well, that's questionable, but psychiatric breaks. I would have taken it seriously and I would have been freaked out. Don't get me wrong. I would have been scared, but I would have taken it seriously and I would have done exactly what Jose Chua did. I would have supported you. I would have gone to the cops. I probably wouldn't have told the true story in the beginning either because I knew that they would think I was completely insane. I respect your loyalty.
Yeah.
But if you start doing that,
you would throw me you'd take me to the psyche ER?
I mean, you're still cute.
Would you think I was crazy?
Absolutely. If you say
isolated incident, I've never done this before.
I'm in Hopkins and I am conjuring. I feel something coming over me.
That's not what happened.
And I'm gonna do?
You
say, I'm gonna head out.
Wow, bro. After everything I've done for you, after being by your side through everything, you would leave me over that.
In the words of Ludacris, roll out.
You're such a piece of shit. Man. At least hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people now know that I am more loyal than you.
Nah, I'm the loyalist, but all right.
No, you're not. You're not.
What if I started floating and I was like,
look, she wasn't possessed by a demon. It's not like she was possessed by a demon. She was telling them vital information about a murder, and then it was over. That was it. And then, like, once they called the cops, it stopped. So my point is since it would be isolated, 100% I would support you.
Listen.
And I'm just way better than you, clearly.
Is this a movie?
No, but it should be.
Yeah, it should be, because it could be like a haunted movie, and obviously this could get down with who's the frauds that got the place in Vegas?
You're talking about the Warrens.
Warrens, fraudulent activity.
Well, whatever. I really found this case so fascinating. I also finally found a case that you can't claim is not real because it led to the killer and it all added up. Like, what other motivations would Remy have to do this? There's not even, like, she didn't gain anything from it. She lost her job and gained nothing.
Yeah, but she'd get another job.
My point is,
she's
she
in
didn't
the medical
gain
field.
anything from this.
Are these people still together today?
Yeah.
Well, they're old as shit now. Hopefully, they're probably retired.
Yeah, hopefully they're retired living their life. They literally solved this lady's murder.
Well, I'm glad that the murder got solved.
Yes, but now this asshole only did 14 years and he's been out since 1993.
Wonder what he's up to.
I wonder what he's up to too, but that's pretty scary with considering his previous record of raping women and robbery and theft and now brutally murdering this wonderful lady.
Well,
who didn't deserve it.
Because spirits are timeless, she could come back, possess someone else, and cut his balls off.
Hopefully she does.
I hope so, too.
I really hope so.
Because he confessed, I hope the worst happens to him. But until I experience something like this, I'm going to keep calling shenanigans.
It's not shenanigans in this case. There's no way that you can actually... there's no other way to explain it away.
That's crazy. I get you. I get you, right? But I ain't got nothing for you. I got nothing but love for you, honey.
In literature and lore, spirits often reach out to the living, seeking justice, closure, or simply a voice to tell their untold stories. As I said in the beginning, stories like Hamlet, The Lovely Bones, and this case, Teresita Basa, show us how spirits may persist in seeking help from the living to find peace. These stories reflect an enduring belief. The dead may not rest until their voices are heard, and sometimes they depend on us to bring their stories to light. And that is the case of Teresita Basa.
See, I'm with it. I want spirits and stuff to be true because I don't want it to end when I'm done with this life. Like,
so
I would love it.
You want it to be true, but you like literally...
There's no evidence.
Push as hard as you possibly can against anything I say remotely supernatural.
Because someone just tells me with words, I'm not going to believe it. I have to be shown it. And you could understand that. Like, you have to show me.
I can understand it-ish, but it's like, this is a case where, like, it's pretty evident that something really did happen.
I want to believe. Hopefully Lucy could float across the room and talk and be like, hey, Russ, can you give me more treats? And I'm like, oh, shit, Lucy flew. Because she loves treats and she won't.
So you think a ghost could possess Lucy?
Why not?
Well, I'm curious about all the other skeptics like you. Like, how do you guys feel about this case? I think you guys should comment below on either Facebook or Instagram. Are you with Russ, where you literally just have too much pride and can't admit that something may actually have substance? Or does this make you believe that it is a possibility? All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning back in. I hope you enjoyed this case for spooky season. I have more spooky stories to come. Get ready, because October is my favorite. So more spooky stories are coming.
I love horror films. I watch all the horror films.
Yeah, you love horror films, but you don't believe anything.
Well, horror films are unpredictable if they're done well.
That's true.
So a lot of movies are predictable. Like Your Dad Loves the Equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
Jess's dad actually, in my mind, thinks he could have been the equalizer had something happen to Jess. Like, he could take him down. He could be taken, chop him in the neck.
I think all dads kind of feel that way, though. But, yeah, I mean, you love horror, but maybe you love horror because you don't believe any of it.
That's true. You know what I forgot?
What?
So, I've been sent this one meme about 1,000 times. And I just keep liking it, but this meme's been floating around 5 years, 10 years. Everyone sends it to me. The Find Out-ologist.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys reaching out and sending me the Find Out-ologist. But this is like Jess when she comes to me with a viral video. Like, I already beat you to it, son.
You guys, seriously, there's probably
1,000 times.
Yeah, 500 to 1,000 people have sent us them.
the fine, and I appreciate you.
And we
guys
even shared it on our story to show, like, guys, we saw it too. But some people missed it and still send it to us all the time.
Oh, I get sent it at least once a day.
Yeah.
And then sometimes multiple, and I don't like, a lot of times I'll share stuff people send me because, like, oh, that's cool, you guys thought of me or whatever. But I found out about it.
So, moral of the story is, you guys don't have to send it anymore.
Because I'm a find-out-ologist. Obviously, if I'm a find-out-ologist, I know about this already.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod, Facebook at Wife of Crime and Crime Family, Patreon at Wife of Crime Pod, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Don't float. Peace.